Warning: this video contains the discussion of sexual assault. Viewer discretion advised. Now that Season 4 of Invincible has wrapped up, with it ending on the part of the comics where the Viltrumites are on Earth, there's a very good chance that next season we're getting that scene animated. And I've seen a lot of conversation and debates online of whether or not it should be animated or not. Unfortunately, most of the people who want it animated are a bunch of neckbeards so they can goon to it and saying, I wish it was me. Now with me, I actually weighed the pros and cons of the scene being animated and have come to a decision of my own. And that decision is that I think that the scene should be animated, or at the very least, have a scene where it alludes and makes obvious as to what happened rather than show anything graphic. And I will be giving actual non-gooner reasons as to why I think it should be animated. For starters, there is the most obvious reason being that Mark's son, Marky, will have to be born at some point, given that he plays a bigger role later on in the series for not only Mark, but for several other characters. The only other way for there to be an explanation for Marky being born is to character assassinate Mark and have him cheat on Eve. The next reason is to show Anissa's growth as a character and set up her atonement for later, because until Marky is born and meeting her husband, Anissa is shown as a cruel, cold character. Not only that, but she comes to realize that what she did to Mark was wrong, as during her assault against Mark, she did not see herself in the wrong. Part of this is due to the Viltrumite culture and their process of mating. In the comics, whenever Nolan is made aware of Anissa's sexual assault on Mark, he explains that on Viltrum, it was customary that the strong chose their mates, and acknowledges that by Earth standards, they are monsters for this practice. It is understandable that Viltrumites don't exactly do marriage and the typical family dynamic given that they possess extremely long lifespans. More than likely, they had some sort of annual mating ceremony, given that in the show, we see Nolan being tested for his adulthood around the same time as many other young Viltrumites, indicating that they are all born around the same time, giving further support for that theory. Back to the topic at hand. To put it bluntly, Anissa didn't exactly understand that what she was doing to Mark was rape. She even says so on her deathbed to Eve, and the only reason she doesn't regret it is due to her son being born. Which brings me to my next point, that being Marky's development. With Anissa's death, Mark finally meets his son and even talks to him about their Viltrumite history, mirroring the talk Nolan had with him when he was younger. Not only that, but with them developing a relationship, Mark is able to connect Marky with the best possible person to guide him, that being Debbie. Given that she had a hand in turning Nolan good and raised her boys to become heroes, it's no surprise that she helps Marky become a hero as well. But the biggest development is when Marky is an adult and confronts his father for leaving him on Earth after finding out the truth of his birth, saying that Mark favored Tara for being born out of love, while he was born out of hate. My final reason for why the scene should be animated is representation. Throughout all of media, there are large amounts of representation for women who have survived being raped or essayed in some way, but not as much for men. There is even less representation within the world of comics and superheroes. The only other hero that comes to mind is Batman. For those who are confused, let's just say that Damian Wayne wasn't exactly conceived consensually. But on the case with Mark, whenever he finally opens up to Eve about his rape, we see the conflict in himself that many rape victims may struggle with, such as thinking they should have fought harder or doubting whether they really wanted it or not. Not only that, but we see this as a moment that brings Mark and Eve closer, as he feels safe enough with her to open up about this, and how Eve reassures that what happened to him wasn't his fault. The reason I think this is important to show is because there may be a rape victim watching who may be having those same thoughts and can in some way take comfort in hearing those words that need to be heard, even if from an animated show. On the flip side of this, there may be someone watching this scene who notices similar behavior by someone they love in their life, such as seeming uneasy around someone specific or pushing away from any physical or intimate interaction, and be able to reach out to said person to help them. Anyways, thank you guys for watching today's video. If you have any thoughts to some of my reasons or have any of your own either for or against the animation of that scene, please comment down below and let me know. With that being said, y'all have a good one.